Hello and welcome to Skill of the Week for the Mehndi line design project for our 6th graders. So when we're setting this up, we've already gone through the PowerPoint on the East Indian way of doing henna designs on hands and arms and things like that. And it's got quite a history behind it. But we can't do that on our arms here in school. So we're going to create our own Mehndi line designs, being creative to us as individuals on paper. So we're going to lay our arm in one position. Okay, I'm going to hold my pencil totally upright. Okay, that way I get a clear representation of my arm. If I dip it in too much or out too much, my arm won't be the right shape, or my hand. I'll have either too fat of fingers or I will have too skinny of fingers, and it won't look like a real arm. So just go around sliding that pencil right up against your arm and hand and fingers, and then you'll get a nice design of a hand. Okay? Then you need to decide how you want to place your hand in the next position. Like, do I want it slanting? Do I want it straight? I think this would be interesting where I have it straight up and then I'm curving it to the side. You don't want to have all of your hands overlapping right in the center where all of your hands are. It's going to look weird. You're not going to recognize them as being hands. So this is the best way to do it. Kind of take them away from each other, fill the rest of the space. Try not to have too much empty space in one position. Okay, so there's another of my hands. Now I had two fingers that were really close together, so I'm going to go ahead and draw a line on there. And then I'm going to place my other hand over here. Maybe I'll go upside down. Okay, and kind of place that so that it interlocks with the other fingers, almost like they're holding hands. But all of my arms are going off the page, and I'm drawing it all the way over to the edge of the paper. And from there, I'm going to trace all of my lines from my pencil lines. So take a Sharpie marker, and I'm just going to trace my pencil lines. Making sure that I'm going right over the top of my pencil lines. And these pencil lines will overlap your other hands that you drew, which is completely fine. Now, if you start to run out of ink, it just might be that Sharpie needs to take a little rest. So put the cap on, get another Sharpie, and continue your tracing. Okay, trace all of these lines. And if some lines are a little bit too light, I want to go back over those so they stand out. Okay, and then I want you to be thinking about the designs that we saw in the Mehndi line design PowerPoint. And you can start constructing your designs on your sheet of paper. Now, you can have thick lines and thin lines and in-between lines. Think about variety when you're creating your design, okay? And make it unique to you. And we don't want to see the same design over and over and over again. If we think about what we saw in the Mehndi design, we saw it start with something in the center of the hand. And since I love summer and sunshine, I think I'm going to put a sun in the center of one hand. And I'm going to put some designs around it because that's what we saw in our Mehndi design. And I'm just going to continue to bring that out in an interesting design. Try and make it balanced, just like we saw in our PowerPoint. And think back to the examples of different ways that you can develop your lines. Like I could continue to go with Sharpie all the time, but I really want to have a variety of lines. So I'm going to use my liquid flare and just create some little dots coming out from the points of the sun, just to have something interesting, some balance of thin and thick lines. And really a dot is just a really short line. So it's okay to have dots. It's also okay to have shapes. You don't have to have just a plain old line. You can have shapes that create patterns. Okay, so I could do different kinds of lines coming out to make it look like flames coming out from my sun. And it doesn't have to be totally balanced like we saw in our Mehndi line design PowerPoint. It just needs to be interesting and something that pertains to you personally. And for me, sunshine and warmth is something that's personal to me because I don't like being cold. I love the warmth. So just be really creative with your different designs. Now I started to get kind of jaggedy on my lines. I started really curvy and now I'm kind of doing jagged lines. So it doesn't have to always be exactly the same kind of line. Just vary it, be creative, open your mind to the different possibilities of the things that you could do with this. And think about the balance of your line quality. So if you've just done a whole bunch of little thin designs, change it up. Do something that has a thicker line. Now I'm kind of going to continue with the same theme here because I like how that's looking. So I'm going to do some more kind of curly Q designs. And then I could go in with my liquid flare again and create some thin lines in between that. Now, one thing that I want to caution you about is doing just a bunch of scribbly lines. I want this to be well thought out, thinking about how you can do lines that are creative and neat, like we saw on the PowerPoint. Okay, so now I'm thickening up the line a little bit just to create some different qualities to it. Okay, so you can thicken it up. You don't have to do the same thing over and over again. And now here I'm changing it up again. And I might just do all of the fingers with the same type of design. I'm just going back and forth with a chevron design. Try and stay in your lines the best you can. Okay, and maybe I'll try something completely different for the thumb. So maybe something that has little bumps. And then change that up. Do some designs inside of it. Create some shape. And it's okay to leave a little bit of empty space because you want your eye to be able to rest in some places. So I've got thick lines, I've got some thin lines, I've got some medium lines. I think I'll go ahead and do some thin lines again. This is where just let your imagination kind of run wild. Okay? This can go in a lot of different directions. It doesn't have a set pattern. The only rule I have is no scribbly lines. Okay? So you need to change it up. You need to not have any scribbles. And you need to try and put as much variety of type of line that you can. Okay? Okay, I'm just going to finish this hand, and then that will be the extent of my demo. Okay, I'm going to change this by going every other line being something different here so that it's not all the same thing. There. And maybe a little bit right there. Something different. Okay, so that whole hand has been designed with different line qualities in mind. Okay, and now your assignment is to complete your Mehndi line design, creating different designs in each section of your hand positions. And there you go. Time to go and get started.